$450,000 now. At $450, bids there at $450 now. Opportunity with every other buyer here today at $450,000. Once at $450,000 are we done. At $450,000 for the second call at $450. All done. All finished. At $450,000 for the third and final call at $475 now. At $460. I'm asking for 25 in the rise, ma'am. Can I say $475? At $470, I'll take that at $470,000. Thank you, welcome, best of luck here today. And the same courtesy at $20 if you like. At $70 in the bids here. At $470,000, make it $90 now. At $470,000, perhaps $500's better. At $470 the bid. At $470,000, $90 got now at $490. At $490,000, bid there. Opportunity back with you at $90 now. At $490,000, fairly been offered at $490 the bid. At $490,000, might take more than one bid to buy here today. At $90 now. At $490,000, first call at $490,000 done. At $490,000 for the second call at $490 the bid. Done. Finished at $500,000 or short of my stride. Get you involved at $500, back involved rather at $500,000 even money now, and the same courtesy at $10 if you like. At $500,000 the bid's here at $5. At $500,000 now and $10 you've got you back in front. At $500,000 fairly been offered. At $500 the bid. At $500,000 even money at that at $5. Only cost you $10 in the rise. At $500,000 first call at $5 all done. Second call at $500,000 done, finished. Looking for 10 in the rise. Third. I will take the 5 at 505 now, $505,000, the same courtesy, only 5 if you like. At 505 in the bids there, it's got to be 10 now. At $505,000, at $505,000, fairly been offered, bid here. At 505 the bid. At $505,000 for the first call at 505, all done. At $505,000, second call at 10 now. At $510,000, welcome back again at 510. At $510,000, at $510,000, bid then. I'll tell you what, man, we are on the market and selling here today. So at $510,000, keys are with you. If there's no further bid, I'll stay there at $515 now at $515. At $515,000, you had those keys for a moment. You can win them back at $515, but they're there as it stands. At $515,000, at $515,000, on the market and selling. We play for keeps, not going inside, not seeking instructions. My instructions have been sought. They are to sell at $515. Bids here. At $517 now. At $517,000, welcome back at 17. At $517,000, perhaps round me off to 20. We do sell here today. We're playing for keeps. There's no second chances, no further opportunity. At $518 now, at $518. At $518, don't miss out for one, ma'am. At $518,000, the bid's back here. At $518. At $518,000 on the market and selling. Got to dig deep if you want to buy. At $518 now, we sell away for the first call at $518. Done. Second call at $518, at 20 now, was that at 20 now, $520,000, at $520 the bid, at $520,000 and a half, at $520 and a half, at $520,000, $500, an easy bid to beat, at $520 and a half, and the bid's back there, the keys are back there for $100,000, at $520, $500 now, at $520 and a half now. At $522 the bid. At $522,000, bids there, keys are that 22, perhaps a bigger bid, man. At $522,000, fairly been offered now. At $522 the bid. At $522,000 the bid. Once at $522 are we done? 500. At $522 and a half. At $522 and a half, and the bid's back here now at $522, $500. Bids there, keys are there. At $522,000, $500 the bid on the market, selling here today at $522 and a half. Bids there. Up. At $524. At $524,000 a bid. Back here now, keys are here. Do we let them have it at that? Do I have your absolute best here today? At $524,000. Bids here, keys are here. Once at $524,000 done. Twice at $524,000 done. Finished for the third and final call at $524. At 24 and a half now. At $524 and a half, bid back here now at 24 and a half. At $524,500. Fairly been offered now at $524 and a half. Bid there, keys there, opportunity with you still. At $525 and a half now, at $525 and a half. At $525,500, got the competition down to $1,000 bids. Calls for optimism, push on. At $525 and a half and 6. At $526 now. at 526,000. At 526,000, bid back here now at 26, perhaps say 30 in the rise and get it done. At 526,000. At 526,000, fairly been offered, bid there, keys are there, opportunity still here as I said. At 526 now, first call at 526.
529.
At 529, a great bit of that at 529. At 529,000. At 529,000, 30 beckons now at 529 the bid. At 529,000 bid there at 30 now, and a great bid at 530,000 puts the keys back in your pocket for now. At 530 the bid. At 530,000 fairly been offered now at 530. At 530 the bid. Bids there, keys are there. We're on the market. We sell, we play for keeps here today. At 530 the bid now. Once at 530,000 done. Twice at 531. At 531,000 now at 531. At 531 the bid. 531 the bid's here. Keys are here. At 532 now at 532. At 532,000 might take a big bid to break the gridlock here today. At 532,000 we always say big bids buy property. At 532 the keys are here. At 532. At 532 the bid. First call at 532. All done.
535.
At 535, and that's a big bid at 535. At 535,000. At 535,000, have they done enough? At 535, bid here, keys are here, opportunity still with you, ma'am. At 535,000, it is fleeting though. At 535, the bid. At half now, 535 and a half. Wasn't quite enough at 535 and a half, and we're back there now at 535, 500. At 535 and a half now, fairly been offered on the market selling. Playing for keeps here today at 535, 500. Once.
536.
At 536 now. At 536. At 536,000. Back here now at 536 and a half. At 536 and a half. And 37 at 537,000. At 537,000, fairly been offered. The quick retort at half and a half. At 537 and a half. At 537,500. Bid back here now at 537 and a half. At 537,500. Once at 537 and a half. Done. Twice at 537,500, done and finished. Third, final call and a half at 538. At 538,000, cheeky half at 538 and bids back here and a half now at 538 and a half. Perhaps 40, ma'am. At 538,500, bid back there now at 538 and a half. At 538,500, fairly been offered on the market selling at 538 and a half.
540.
At 40 and a great bid at 40. At 540,000. At 540,000, bids back here now at 540. Just a round number, don't let it scare you off. At 540 now. At 41. At 541 the bid now. At 541,000. At 541,000, fairly been offered bids there. Are we absolutely sure? You've been so strong from the very start. At 541, bids there, keys are there. We'll let them have it on your word. At 541,000, first call at 541, all done. Second call at 541,000, done and finished. Third, final call at $541,000 the bid and a half now at 541 and a half. At 541,500, big back there at 541 and a half. At 541,500 now and 42. At 542. At 542,000, small bids help the competition come along at 542 now. At 542,000, fairly been offered at 542. Bids there, keys are there. We're on the market, we're selling. If you've come to buy, bid me now. If you ever hold your peace, we sell away here today at 542,000. Once at 542, done. Twice at 542, done and finished. Third, final call. 42 and a half, at 42 and a half, at 542 and a half, at 542,500, bid back here now, at 542 and a half, it's been hard fought, at 542 and a half and 543, at 543,000, at 543,000, fairly been offered now at 543 the bid, at 543,000, we're on the market, we sell at 543, at 543, first call at 543, second call at 543, third, 544 at 544 at 544 at 544,000, bid back there now at 544 at 544,000. As I said, ma'am, you've got to dig deep if you want to buy now at 544,000 and a half, at 544 and a half. at 544,500. Fairly been offered again at 544.5, and the keys are back there at 544.5. At 544,500 and a half, at 545. At 545, at 545,000, another half on top, 545. Perhaps try a bigger bid, man. At 545.5 now, 545.5. At 545,500. At 545.5, barely been offered bids there. Keys are there. We sell away at 545.5. First call at 545.5. Done. Second call at 545,500. Done and finished. Third. Final call at 545.5. All done. Or finished.
750.
At 5, I won't take 250, ma'am. I'll take half though. At 545, can I say 546?
No.
Are you definitely done?
We're done.
At 545.5, you're definitely out. Absolutely sure. I've got your absolute best here today. At 545,500, bids there, keys are there. Are you absolutely sure? First call, second call, third, final call, 545,500. All done.
546.
At 546, and welcome back at 46. I had a feeling you weren't done just yet. At 546,000. At 546,000 and a half. At 546 and a half. At 546,500. Bid back there now. Keys back there now. At 546 and a half. Has she done enough now? At 546,500. Fairly been offered. First call 546 and a half. All done. Second call at 546,500. Done. Finished. Third, final call, 546,500, all done, all finished, all silent, all out, 546.5. Do I have your absolute best now? Last chance. I want to give you the ample time to make the right decision for yourself here today and your family at 546.5. Bids there, keys are there. If I've got your best, I will sell at that. Do I have your absolute best here today? Definitely done. Thank you very much for your spirited bidding here today at 546,500. Bids here, keys are here. We sell once, twice, third. Final call at 546.5. Definitely done there, Mills. We're selling. Selling. Need to know. Definitely done. Selling. Sold. Congratulations and well bid. Please join me in congratulating our purchasers and our vendors here today. You've just witnessed another successful Harcourts, Rata & Co auction. Have a great weekend. See you.